Welcome back to the Loud Sound Epicenter podcast. Bit of an early start than usual, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way because I wanted to just thank everybody who was involved, everybody who I shared a weekend with. They know who they are. And most of those folks, I presume, would not want me to continue until this Tamagotchi is rightfully in frame. So usually I come back from a trip like this and I'm a bit overwhelmed, a bit jet lagged. And I do got to be honest, I've been taking advantage of sleep, which is a bit of a probably the better of two evils because usually I damage myself with the lack of sleep. And so now we're back on a somewhat regular schedule. But the thing about this trip was I actually got some pretty decent sleep. Now maybe some of us were up a little too late. Maybe the sun came up or seemingly came up a little too quickly, but honestly, it was nice. It was nice to get some rest. It was nice to be in a comfortable place. In Arizona, I was practically laying out on this couch, or I don't even know if you would call it that, like a place where you would put your bags. That's where I slept. Now that was my choice. So it wasn't all that bad. Hey, Manon, I see you in chat, and I saw you in Ryan Turnipseed's chat as well. When I'm done monologuing here, I'd like you to address some. Been hearing about some rumors or something like that. Not too sure what you meant by that. I'd like to verify the facts, okay? Because whenever you get a bunch of guys together, I you can imagine there's no shortage of rumors, no shortage of speculation. And so I'd just like to clear the air because I can't imagine what's running through people's minds. Okay, Manon. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's nothing. But hey, on a serious note, the people, they know who they are. And the last time I met people from this dissident right space was in Vegas. I crossed paths with Red Hawk, who I think is going on AA's stream relatively soon. And that was kind of surreal because even though I wasn't watching Red Hawk's content consistently, and this was somebody who knew me from this space, and most people know me outside of it. So it was nice to kind of make it real and see the person behind the Avi. And then this weekend was like that times 10, or I guess technically over 10 to be precise, but it really was just positive momentum. And like I said with the purpose of this channel, which is to take the revisionism that Thomas has been doing and apply it to pop culture. And that was something that was discussed seriously with a number of people. And it's just nice to know that that's looking to be a real possibility because first of all, would not be here without Thomas. It's strange looking back on, we had that first episode where he didn't have his camera on, and it was more like in sync with the other interviews. I interviewed the guy from Voivod. I interviewed a YouTuber who I thought made decent movie content. And so it was a bit of a hodgepodge. But as it became something that Paul Fahrenheit has also been pushing, there's this is really turning into a coalition. And like I talked about when I met Red Hawk, that was sort of I may not have been clear on what exactly that trip was. It wasn't just a Vegas trip. It wasn't just meeting the first person IRL from this space. This was something that involved the cozy streamers. And I know that some people are skeptical of that crowd. I know a lot of people look at cozy TV and say that it's lacking in a lot of serious components. But I would argue, like I've said before, this really is a bunch of people heading in the same direction, albeit through different means. I was watching Politically Provoked around 4 in the morning this morning, which is probably not healthy, but one of the things that was discussed, Kai Clips was on there, and there was somebody on who was sort of debating in a very aggressive manner. It sort of reminded me of Adam Green, Tyler Hamilton debate from a while ago. People probably don't remember that discussion. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is because there was a lot of confusion on this panel. I know Politically Provoked is a bit of a ragtag group, not conventional, but, and some would argue not even right wing, conventionally speaking. But you had this panel, and you had some people being aggressive. You had another person being very amicable. And some people don't really like the fact that these two sides share the same, or I guess these two personalities share the same side, is the right way to put it. And I argue that that's actually a good thing, you know? Obviously, watching content like Semiagog or watching content like The Prudentialist, it's all different. Everybody has their thing, their niche. Some people prefer one over the other. That really has no bearing on what this is. And that's something that was mentioned on the trip is, you know, AF has their thing and some other more extreme types have their thing. But over here, it's a bit of a loose network. And so that's something, it could be a weakness. You know, we've have no shortage of seeing things like that happen on the right. But it is something to be aware of. And I think that's my role in all of this, you know. I'm not a very academic type. I'm not a very scholarly reader, but I do see some things that is only happening on a handful of channels. And so I'd like to emphasize those missing elements. And I think thanks to this weekend, some people agree. It's not just me shouting into the ether. It sounds like there is some positive momentum. And so I just want to thank Thomas. I mean, this was the first time meeting Thomas, 777. And you know, Vegas was pretty surreal. That's where I met. So I mean, meeting as far as in a more how do I say that? People are gonna, my goodness, people are gonna, if I don't word it correctly, I would just say I hung out with a lot of the people a lot longer than usual. And so that was something that made it feel a bit more real, a bit more personal. And so this was the equivalent of that, you know. I got into Cozy much sooner than I did this AA inspired network. And so I'm starting to kind of see these camps really starting to mesh well together. And I know some people don't agree with that, but I'm just seeing the trajectory that everybody's on, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be a part of it. Thomas basically got me here, and also wouldn't even know about this trip without Mr. Paul Fahrenheit, who is really taking this stuff very seriously. Another person I met for the first time, IRL, and so it was just a bit overwhelming to just see everybody. But again, I remember watching one of the reviews of the US event, and people were saying, you know, this you get all these people into one room, and what do you expect? Is everybody going to be on the same page? Is everybody going to be too autistic? And there was another concern. Oh, and then you would kind of guess how everybody would vibe with one another. And to hear, I think it was from Charlemagne, who said, you get all these guys in a room and we don't even talk about politics. And that's just not people's disposition, really, in real life. And that's good to hear, because last thing I would want is for this to turn into something a lot similar to what's happening in Florida. I think it's Florida, with this NatCon conference, the Yoram Hazony event. And I think that is a good counter example of what not to replicate. And so it was nice to get some firsthand experience and understand that as of right now, that is not the case. And so it's very nice to okay. Chat's distracting me a bit here. But I just want to thank everybody, you know, because this is it's really happening, okay? It's really coming together. And there was some notable highlights. You know, it's not everybody has to know what's going on besides the people who were there. But it was just, you know, Thomas was on Telegram talking about how it's autumn season. and really it's almost like Twin Peaks season. And that was kind of the vibe, even though it was like a summer vibe, like White Boy Summer, it really was like this wholesome Dale Cooper energy that everybody around the table, you got your Sheriff Trumans and you got your the guy with the percolator, you got just a nice cast and crew. And it's an honor. It's an honor to be with serious people. And so that's the thing. It is subject to change. That is so true. It is real Paul Town hours. So true. I think Paul Town was trying to fix a bike at like 4 in the morning his time. Definitely relating with that one. But yeah, that's the thing. This morning, or I don't know if it was still morning, you know, I was watching some geo content and it's like the reason why there was such an absence of right-wing pop culture content. It's just because people take it for granted that something like that can't emerge. People take it for granted that there cannot be an elitism in art that is not left wing. And I know Geo talks about the California ideology, which has projected itself onto the world, and people assume that that's always going to be the face of American identity. But like Paul Fahrenheit reminds us, Europe may not be in a more flexible position compared to America. But in America, we have the luxury, for better and worse, some wiggle room. And of course, a lot of people abuse that stuff. But it also means that we can have a different way of creating and contributing to pop culture that isn't this Curtis Yarvin ballroom, hipster thing. I think that we can really have some Jonathan Bowden inspired elitism brought back into the pop culture circle. Because I some of the names that came up, Morton Downey Jr., some of the '90s radio hosts, Alan Berg. I mean, Alan Berg is very cringe, but and Dalton, Claude Felter is doing this over on Cozy. But understanding that even though a lot of the resources have been co-opted, there's more than enough personalities that can fill the gap and contribute. And instead of paying tribute to the leftists that want to use art in this very counterproductive way, there's more than enough people who are stepping outside of the political thinking, the academic thinking, and really trying to find a space within those old networks, the radio network, sort of Rush Limbaugh's involvement with radio. That's a very interesting relationship. Wendell did a stream on that. And you could draw some parallels with AF. You could draw some parallels with Dalton. And because people aren't really aware of those other networks outside this dissident space, I think that some people only cling to a handful of formats. Like for example, the American Sun is outlet, and no offense, there's I think at least one person on there that I like, but stuff like that is a little too millennial. It's a little too limited as far as reach. And I think when you see platforms like Cozy being successful and bringing in new audiences consistently, that's the thing. That's something to look at and something to learn from. So those are just some thoughts over the weekend. It was just there was a lot of stuff going through my mind, and without getting too intimate with the details, I think it was very productive. I think it's very easy for people who aren't seeing the behind the scenes momentum. It's very easy to be blackpilled and say that this thing is going nowhere and it's staying online. There's a lot of people that are thinking outside of that. And you're going to be hearing about events. You're going to be hearing about more developments. And because it's not predicated on a very rigorous schedule, that's not something to see as a reason why it's not going to work. There's going to be, including with myself, if certain things are going to happen, there's going to be certain white pills in the future. So a bit rambly, didn't really do notes this time around. The last video had some notes, but I just want you guys, I want to report back. We're going to report some good vibes, and it's just surreal. That's the thing. I don't know if people experience this, but sometimes you build something up in your mind, and then when it's finally happening, you're like, okay, I've wanted this. I have it now. And like all of that happiness that was the pretext for it, you don't really know what to do now that it's here. It's like, "Oh, okay. I met this person. Cool. All right. Check that one off." And that's what a friend of mine at college reminds me. You can't want. Nick had a good point about that on one show. You just gotta surrender yourself to the moment. And that happened a couple of times. Very wholesome moments. But anyways, I want to catch up with the chat. Don't want to neglect the chat because you guys, hey, you are the music, I'm just the band. So let's return the favor here, shall we? Can't believe. Bummed. Bummed, who are you? Are you on Twitter? You might be responding to my tweets. Yeah, England deserves some respect, honestly. Let me see. I'm actually at the That's right. Someone brought in some Portillo's from Chicago. I've never had it before. And I've heard Nick hype it up. I've heard Nick say all kinds of raving things, and I didn't have much room to talk. Never had it before. But hey, I got to be honest. I was in class today thinking about the Italian beef, and maybe it's because that's the other thing. I want to talk about that too. These guys took care of me. Okay, full stop. These guys fed me very well. Okay, imagine eating this good because I certainly can relate. One of the most noticeable things about me is the lack of consumption. And on this weekend, it totally reoriented my diet. So if nothing else, I got to be thankful for that. This was overwhelming, the amount of grub, and consistently too. Sometimes I got a big meal, and like Thomas said at one point, I've had so much food that I feel like I'm not going to eat for months. But this time, my goodness, I mean, Portillo's. I subscribe. I endorse. This was, in Arizona, I had Culver's for the first time. That was also beef. And I ordered like a standard cheeseburger and they gave me more beef than I needed. And this time around, same thing, same thing. So it's these people in Chicago, man, they got a great gift with this chain restaurant. And I think Nick's right. The rest of America doesn't even deserve to have that luxury. That should be their thing. Keep it local because somebody like me is not worthy of such a. I mean, I need it because I need to eat, for starters. But the fact that you just have this more than enough to handle, very satisfied. So very thankful to have a first time at that. And yeah, I could feel it. I could feel the diet changing. And even today, like when you work out and your diet changes, I just it doesn't feel normal to go hours without eating now. It feels like I'm doing something wrong. And maybe I am. So that it definitely put everything into perspective. I might have to change the diet a bit for this trip alone. Thanks to them alone. Italian beef, yeah, Manone with the endorsements. The M&Ms, no, is that right? Self-aware M&Ms. Yeah, I'm thinking we're back. The other thing that happened on the trip, this was towards the end, but we got really just blunt about the fact that on this trip there was a bit of an age gap, and you'd expect that to go a couple of ways, but there was just real curiosity about like at one point I was asked, "What is this Zoomer disposition? What is the examples he gave were, Kai Clips, Nick, Doyle. Doyle's a bit of an outlier because he's kind of trying to mesh the millennial personality with the Zoomer because it's for him it is a little bit by the numbers. But this is a person who's not a Zoomer, just asking, what is this a copy? Is this natural? Is this too much TikTok? And then maybe just too much Fortnite as well. But really, I think it's no different than when people copy a specific comedy style, and I see this a lot with, like, people who like Steve Martin, people who like Rodney Dangerfield. It's this very contrived personality, and, people who laugh at commercials, and they kinda mimic the sitcom humor, or they watch a lot of video essays, and they'll deliver their jokes in that forced way. They'll tell a joke and then say, "So, yeah," like, says a joke and then, "Um, yeah, right. So then anyways," and then transitions. Sometimes they literally transition, outside of that, but people just do that when they consume a lot of content online or on TV, and so the Kai Cliffs, the Fuenteses, they're doing kind of that same thing when they surround themselves with their network. You kinda got a handful of personalities to choose from, and I see that with, like, the AA sphere. I see that with, the way people orient their content a certain way. It's the video essay way, it's the NRX style, and I just think that that's inevitable with a lot of the different people that you talk to. When you talk to millennials, they're not gonna be, you know, really in tune with the cozy crowd because they're kinda doing a separate thing. People who cluster towards the older side, I know Nick talked about that in his Amren speech, which is kind of the template for this show. If you look at the Amran speech, I mean, he's talking about the generations. He's talking about some of the missing components on the right, and maybe some of the shortcomings with the people who cluster towards the 2017 side of things. I like the guys, the Arizona club that I met in Arizona, but it was very much in line with the 2017 era of the online right, and I just feel like stuff like that doesn't doesn't have longevity, and I'd like us to, like what Joel Davis has been saying on Telegram, you gotta create your online space and then make it a scene, surround yourself with lots of people, and then when people stumble onto it, they're like, "Whoa, there's a lot of stuff happening here." It's like going into New York and seeing all the flashing lights in Times Square. Wow, it's really happening here. I must be missing out on something, and they are. So let's give them something. Let's give them the pop culture instead of just making art like God's, or instead of making stuff like God's Not Dead. Let's have an elitist perspective on this stuff, and let's tap into some high culture. Let's remind people that that stuff exists, because if they don't think there's anything happening over here, they're not going to come over. They're going to, you're asking people to take a leap of faith for what? Towards what? I have to see a movement that's not just online. I have to see people that aren't just obvies. And then that's not telling people to dox, that's not telling people to ruin your life, but we can't stay in quicksand and expect to move. So, anyways, as for the AF special, really subject to change. Is that real testimony? I can only imagine. Yeah, Danielle, do I say, I know I say some words consistently. It's kind of like the Thomas word bank, vis-a-vis. What are some other ones? Obviously, like coup and all that stuff, but there's a certain proclivity, sentiment, Peckerwood. So, what was Thomas wearing? Well, we got a pick out there if you guys are curious. I think it was a Confederate. Confederate was the one. Sadie, thank you. Subject to change. And then we also had I forget what the other. Oh, the other one was a certain mid-century German. We don't have to get specific, but as you can imagine. But yeah, man, yeah. The Raiders hat, not really my, wouldn't have been my go-to pick, but you learn a lot. You learn a lot. But anyways, hey, I wanted to talk about something here. Raison d'etre. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, that was Paul. Paul was saying that a number of times. I also wanted to circle back with something we said in the last stream. I talked about Megadeth. Bryce, you might want to check out some of my thoughts. Wasn't a huge critique, but there's some things that I think a lot of music-based people, not music-based, music-based people may have missed. But This Ozzy Osbourne album came out on Friday. It just seems like everything's happening on the same days, on when went to the Jared Taylor event, the Megadeth album dropped. It's too much. It's overwhelming, all the stuff happening at the same time. But I was listening to this Ozzy album, and I just noticed where a lot of the shortcomings are coming from because, I mean, just real quick, the musical thing, the thing about Ozzy is, even though, he's got this metal reputation, there's also a lot of melodic moments. You can hear this on, Blizzard of Oz, The Ultimate Sin, Bark at the Moon. But those moments are, not probably wouldn't be the first thing people think of when they think of metal bands, but that's a consistent trend that you find in all kinds of subgenres within metal. And as Ozzy gets older, he has, like I said with Megadeth, Dave Mustaine doesn't really have to push the envelope anymore. He's already had his legacy. Same with Ozzy. So yeah, I don't want to be greedy and say, they need to step up. They've already stepped up. But and the thing of the kind of ironically is, Mustaine and Ozzy seem to have had a Christian moment, a return to Christianity in a way. So kind of interesting that these two people are returning to relevancy around the same time. But something I noticed with this Ozzy album is just kind of my take on pop culture in general, kind of the purposes of this show, which is the fact that, we got to stop treating arts, we got to start treating non-political topics bleh, as if it's a nostalgia act. And I think this is a millennial impulse. I think that this is something that, people treat in almost it's just not very logical. They're just kind of going with the crowd and the fact that, like I said, there's no dissident space. The movement is in its like early phase right now. And so nobody knows what the playbook is. Nobody knows how to do this exactly. And so people like Geo and the Prudentialist and Stain Haynes, they're doing the pop culture thing, not being totally restricted to politics and academic stuff. But anyways, the thing about this Ozzy album that just kind of stood out was, how do I say this? It's just working with limited resources, just like some of the songs on the new Megadeth album, Junkie, Mission to Mars. A lot of people are just easily wowed by a handful of things, a riff, a certain topic. And with this new Ozzy album, it's just not inspiring young people to replicate it. It's sort of the latest product. And you can trace where a lot of this new Ozzy tone, like on No More Tears, that was a bit less heavy. There's heavy songs on it, but it's really just kind of piggybacking off of like the album Scream. And so you got kind of like not anthems anymore. They're more so just mellow, not ballads, but like mid-tempo mellowed songs. And this is a crutch that happens a lot in music. And a lot of people listen to certain songs, like Tony Iommi is on two of the songs. And it's just, again, it's you have all those ingredients, you got all the personnel, but like we talked about with Metal Allegiance, it takes more than that. You kind of have to have a different mindset going into the studio making this music. And again, I don't think Ozzy is trying to push the envelope anymore, but he's staying within this framework. And we're trying to liberate people from that framework. Because some of these younger bands, they don't have a legacy. They don't have a legacy yet. And so they don't have this thing to fall back on and say, well, Ordinary Man wasn't a great album, but maybe this one was a little bit better. So there's some improvement. They're justifying this lackluster effort. That's just not good anymore. And it's going to take young bands to stop looking up to the people that it sounds ironic, stop looking up to the people who kind of built the genre. Because these guys are in a latter stage of their life. They're doing something different. They're not doing their early stuff. And so it's going to take something a little bit more. You understand what I'm saying? For this. Yeah, Andrew Watt. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Charlemagne. You reminded me of something. I think it was on Telegram. I was curious if anybody saw the Matt Walsh stuff. If we can get into that, if people are interested. But I just saw that right before I got into the show, got into the studio. But yeah, like Bryce says, it's we're not out there looking for the best guitarists in the world. We're looking for the people that are left. and this guy's like associated with Post Malone and a handful of others like pop stars. Again, there's that's what they're choosing from because those are the people that are at the top of that chain. It's all these people. It's all these just Machine Gun Kelly types, people that know a little bit of guitar, mildly curious about the metal thing, the goth thing, and that's enough. That's enough, you know? We don't have our people in there. The newcomers are not present. So, what Matt Walsh said, it's on Charlemagne's Telegram, apparently he's, getting into some reactionary thinking, and, I still think he's in bad company, but I was curious if anybody's a bit more sympathetic after hearing that. And that's the thing. You know, that's just again, it's not about this album being different than the last. That's the wrong metric. It's not about, well, that riff's kind of good. You know, hey man, you can't play that riff, so who are you to criticize? It's not about that. It's not about dropping the Tamagotchi. It's about all of our favorite bands and all of the most famous figures in our genre and again, fill in the blank with, you know, some people you know on the political dissident sphere. Everybody is working within this framework, and then people wonder why it doesn't inspire people, you know. So anyway, I'm rambling now. This is less coherent than the Megadeth critique, but that's the thing, you know. It's you know the thing about Ozzy. Thank you, Elon Bus. Thank you, Elon Bus. Good to see some you guys in chat here. Trouble Armstrong, MK Ultra, King Sports Cow, bass guitarist too. Bass guitarist. Thank you. That's the thing, you know. It's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing. The thing about getting older is people say, well, that means you got to, what is it? Drop it one standard down. That means you got to can't expect as many fast songs this go around. But it also means you could kind of manipulate a lot of the technology that's around that you have access to in the studio. And Symphony X kind of has that style where they really go wild on the progressive rock elements, and then they can kind of throw in some minimalist vocals here and there. And you would think Ozzy would do that. Now, it would mean him taking a back seat to a lot of the other music. I know that that's competing with his hegemony on the album. You know, he is supposed to be the main draw, but that's the thing. That's kind of the wrong type of elitism. We're talking about reorienting the whole structure of how we look at music. And so it's probably going to end up us being a little more critical towards some of the legacy bands because we're looking at things from a different standard. And so that's, you know, definitely should have wrote notes out because this is just my goodness. But that's the thing. I'm seeing the little shortcomings with I didn't know how to articulate it. I kind of still don't in real time. But I'm starting to see because again, you see people argue about this in comments. They'll say, you know, this isn't the worst album I have ever heard. You know, it's not a terrible song. I mean, a terrible song would be somebody not even trying. Like what a low standard. But how about this? How about if it's average, it's terrible? How about if that's the new standard? How about if there's not a completely different metric? Then we're just going to get the same old nuclear blast, overproduced albums. And then we're going to wonder why this music doesn't survive our generation. So that's the thing. There's a bunch of problems. Obviously, the industry is not helping. Things like Frontiers Records and what is it, the Rat Pack Records. There's a handful of outlets where they kind of allow these legacy acts to continue to survive, but they're kind of they're sabotaging a lot of their roots. And when one of our favorite bands comes out with an album, we're supposed to rationalize it and say that as long as it's not incoherent rambling into the microphone, then there must be something there. So, anyways, This is just terrible. This is a terrible stream. This is a terrible non-structured stream. How are 16 people watching this and learning anything if there's not a script, if there's not more than a couple of thoughts before we go live here? So I apologize for that, but this was more so. That was a bit off topic, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little sample of what we're going to be doing here on the show. You know what I think would help out is if we could just can we play a song or something? Can we play music at the start of these without getting copyright struck from Susan, Oaxaca? I can't focus without some of these missing elements. Okay, we're gonna need some, not need, but just there's something here, something. But anyways, so that's that. That's that. Um, Lynch should be proud. Hey, that's reassuring. Thank you, Treble Armstrong. Um, but yeah, that's the thing, and it's harder to talk about the stuff because it's metal. People got to D Live rock stream. Yeah, maybe. The D Live is so broken, man. I can't go on D Live. Odyssey, even worse. My goodness. Sorry, there's not gonna be any Ninja Guineas, not gonna be any bananas or whatever. But yeah. Anyways, gotta get back into the autopilots of the stream. Kinda did it a little bit here, but I don't know, man, I don't know. But that's the thing. That's the thing. We're bridging 2 camps together. We're bridging I mean, it's kind of what started this whole thing in 2016, kind of the infotainment route. And then I kinda neglected the fact that it is basically Jonathan Bowden inspired, like the Pulp Fascism book. It really is taking that approach, but making it for stuff a little more relevant. That one's more about comic books and pulp fiction. But that kind of analysis should also, like Taki Magazine, but for stuff that's a little more relevant and a little less political on the surface. But here's the thing. That this will get us back in circulation. I got an article that I got a beef with Joel Davis. This is just not with him specifically, but this is just more of the same. The new normal or just more of the same. Comic books. Yeah, did you see this? Did you see Joel Davis's telegram? Uh-oh, this is Discord, not Telegram. Where is Telegram? Where is Harvey Dent? Oh, did we get more? Okay, you guys are gonna see me. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So Joel Davis put out this countercurrents article. Not a big fan of countercurrents, but check this out. Just check out the commentary. Joel Davis not exactly taking a stance here, or that I could see. It was a bit of a long thread. So let me just look at the most recent thing. Fair enough. I feel like you've got some personal investment here, not trying to ruin Elvis. Okay, that's a little okay. So let's go to the beginning here. Let's go to the beginning, okay? And this is important, okay? This is important, all right? This is Carrie Bolton. Mixed bag, honestly, mixed bag in my opinion. Talking about the popularity of rock and roll and Elvis in the 1950s. It's part of a concerted effort, allegedly, by the elites to do miscegenation in its early phase. So this is the usual critique. We're very familiar with this, but are you guys? I don't want you guys to see the same thing twice. So if you guys are in the Aces High Telegram stream, which you know what I would encourage. This is probably a nice little segue to do that. Dude, can we pull it up here? How do we do this exactly? Can I just share it? Anyways, usual critique. America was one way, and then Elvis came along, and allegedly that is the source of all of the plight along racial lines. And we've heard it time and time again. Oops. Let's. Okay. Having a bit of a boomer moment here. My goodness. Can we please? You know what? I think we got this in our notes. Humana, humana. Wow, we are really going off the goop here. Got a bunch of notes scattered. Okay, how about this? Telegram link. See now it's not so smooth if we're gonna be fishing for it. All right, if it's not in this one, okay. Well, you know what, man? Just forget it. Just forget it. Just forget about it. Forget about it. We are talking Joel. Yeah, that's the Joel we're talking about. The Elvis take. Elvis. Well, it's not even about the stealing. That's not even the part that's being critiqued. Pretty sure Molbeg said the moment. Some Quakers or something, not Elvis. Well, here's the thing. And Paul Fahrenheit, good buddy Paul Fahrenheit, threw his hat in the ring and gave some relevant support. So where are we at, Joel? So I said this is BS. Youth movement does not equal counterculture. A lot of people think they're one and the same. Elvis was closer to the roots of the historic American creed, i.e., singing gospel at an early phase of his career, and then continuing to do so later on. You know, ironically, if he was going to exploit the blues, you'd expect to see more of that stuff in the 70s. But what did you see in the 70s? More of this Las Vegas style of music. Ironically, kind of more akin to Frank Sinatra, which is kind of funny. So I said, when you mix, how would you say this? When you do multiculturalism or multiracialism in music, that's not really the same thing as doing it in other regards. And of course, people did not take too kindly to that. And then where are we at here? I'm sort of missing a lot of the here. I think if we reset, we'll be in a better spot. Because I'm starting to okay, here we go. So okay, this was the claim. And this is what a friend of mine says too. A friend of mine I was just in class with singing me the blues, my goodness. So somebody said Elvis was the beginning of this hippie attitude of rebelling against her parents, making that normal in American pop culture. His successors are Madonna, Kiss, and all the rap culture that we see today. Bit of a stretch. I think we're grasping there. And I said, and I alluded to this in another stream, but it's been a while. We haven't really gone in depth with this, but after I saw the Dennis Quaid, Jerry Lee Lewis movie, it kind of put everything into perspective. And you can also just verify things outside of the movie, but Jerry Lee Lewis was around during the same era, doing a similar thing as Elvis, but really going all in on the rebel rouser personality. Kind of the two Southern personalities. Elvis is a little more of like the popular type at school, even though he was a bit shy from what I understand. He was someone who's kind of higher up on the hierarchy in terms of, high school reputation. Maybe more elite, in terms of popularity. People are more receptive to somebody like him. Jerry Lee Lewis is a bit of what would you call it? A little bit of a burnout, a little bit of a just more controversial, kind of embracing the bad boy image as opposed to Elvis. Elvis kind of had that label pushed onto him, I would argue. I'm not, I don't have any illusions. I'm sure he was enjoying the notoriety, but I just don't think that reputation doesn't totally sync up with his musical legacy. Whereas Jerry Lee Lewis, if you listen to like that live album in Hamburg, Germany, or you listen to just a lot of his songs, it's very rhythmic and it's very heavier compared to a lot of Elvis songs. And so I would say Jerry Lee Lewis is a bit more responsible for normalizing that kind of bad boy image. Elvis kind of inherited a lot of that baggage because he was the more popular target But Jerry Lee Lewis, I mean, even the guy's personal life, you can see a lot of the shortcomings, a lot of the personal flaws. You don't really, you don't find. I mean, there's there's plenty of baggage with Elvis, but it's just not proportional, or at least it's not totally. It's really two different things in a way, or it's two things on maybe different scales, perhaps. But you you can imagine an interpretation where people walk away from these two figures in a sort of different context. And so roundabout way of saying Jerry Lee Lewis earns the title over Elvis. Elvis was not doing any I probably shouldn't have said anything. He's a little rebellious, but not relative to others. At that time, again, we're talking about 50s Elvis here, 50s Elvis. Not really much of a hippie. Beatles did far more damage. I mean, the Beatles, I think that's pretty much not controversial. People who are in AA sphere understand the John Lennon influence on pop culture. Elvis offended the sexual morals of the time. This and what is that in reference to? The dancing, the fact that women were throwing their underwear on stage. I'm not sure that really has much to do with Elvis himself, the person. That's more of like a reaction to what's happening. This, along with his mass cultural appeal, resulted in the great. Okay, again, we're sort of a little messy there. We're trying to. I think we would have to ask first, what is the impact of Jerry Lee Lewis relative to Elvis? If we're gonna, before we staking out that claim, we should probably verify where that whatever dad mentality is really in reference to. The Beatles were always 5 years behind the culture. They broke 5 years after Elvis. That's true, but again, if you don't think that Elvis is responsible for this thing, then that's not really relevant to the point I'm trying to make. I mean, the Beatles were also not very rebellious in their early phase, but they really did go all in. Same with Jerry Lee Lewis in a way. So again, I don't think there's a lot of like historian perspectives on this take, and that's again that's what this show is. We want to apply some of that revisionism because then you get stuff like this. A lot of just general statements lauded at would be American figures that we would probably respect. So the media threw him under the bus, I said, and then, you know, it's it's kind of a different thing. We're kind of mixing the political and the cultural, but you know, the way that people go after Elvis's relationship with black Southerners, that's the same thing they do with segregationists. They say that all these people are piggybacking off of the labor of African Americans. And so that is why these people are not who they say they are, or they don't deserve the reputation that they have. And again, this is anti-Southern sentiment. This is media narratives. So I wouldn't be so quick to swallow that. And then also to reference his, claim about sexual morals. I mean, that has to be in reference to like the dancing or the way that women reacted to him. Obviously, the degeneracy of the groupies is not ideal, but I don't think that was really the thing that they were going after him for. They really didn't like this fever that he was giving to the audience. And what do we got? Is there more here? I wasn't aware of the media throwing Elvis under the bus, but this recent movie, for example, is a positive portrayal. Yeah, but they also have to lie a little bit. They kind of have to be fast and quick with the facts because they are trying to frame him as like an egalitarian. And again, that's Hollywood doing its thing. Obviously, don't reference everything you see in like a depiction. If the media is not giving him trouble, then he's probably not a threat, and he's one of the system, part of the system. Well, think about what they have to do to make him an ally of the system. They have to say that he was this Martin Luther King, uh, racial egalitarian, and I just don't know if that's a given. So think about the way that they're framing Elvis. It's just not the same. Personally, a fan of his music, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have negative cultural impact. And we can talk about that. We can talk about how there's there's some shortcomings there. Putting a Madonna song, we'll have to check that out. People misinterpreting his legacy is, I should say, probably not his fault. Nothing. And then That's a bit of a tangent, but people are projecting what they assume about him in order to define his legacy. And then that's the other thing too. People should be aware of the fact that Elvis met with Governor Wallace and Nixon, which people don't seem to share an interest in. Oh, okay, I didn't even see this. He met a governor and the president. Well, there's a bit more context. He met these are not exactly these are not exactly regime approved people that he's talking to. So where did we end here? Fair enough. So it ended a bit more amicable. I feel you've got some personal events, but yeah, which could be a what do you call it? Which could be a flaw. So I think that wrapped everything up. But hey, talking about Elvis again, what else is new? Can we figure out how to share the Telegram link? My goodness. We're gonna do that on the phone. Just joined by YouTube. Oh, okay, cool. So people can stumble their way in here. I appreciate that. Got Elvis on my elbow. So when I flex, Elvis talks. So true. Yeah, and it's so true. All right, let's loosen up a bit, shall we? But yeah, I may need some help with a way to put music on the show without getting copyright struck. My goodness. I think that would put us in a better state of mind. So if anybody's a veteran of that, I'd appreciate any advice that you may or may not have. Okay, can we please? Okay, here we go. Figured it out. Boomer moment, boomer moment. All right. How are we doing? How are we doing tonight, folks? I need a smoke machine. I need a smoke machine before we come on set. Maybe that can get people going. The Dalton setup, the Dalton Clodfelter setup is very impressive. All right, here we go. For those that are out of the loop, who can now become in the loop. All right. I can use royalty-free music. That takes me back to high school. Might have to do that. Hey, Marsha Forward. Thank you, man. Thank you for the 4.99. Appreciate you, man. Yo, what's up, bro? Not much, man. We're just basking in the glory. The old glory. We're basking in the thankful to people to put me in some good company and finally get outside. You know, these millennials, they really know how to spend their moments outdoors. And so it was nice to join the rest of the world out in public, if you can imagine. So that was great. That was really great. You know, I'm talking with some people from Arizona. We're talking about putting together a magazine together because, like I said, for those of you that know John Derbyshire, he's got an outlet called dissidentright.com, which is a nice name, to the point. And we're going to try and make that magazine into a dissident outlet. And so if you look at like Geo has some writing on his like website blog and American Sun, they do their thing, but it's a little too old school, it's a little too millennial. And so you look at like Spectator magazine, USA specifically. You look at in the left corner, you got what is it? Unheard. You got Unheard. And in the right corner, you've even got some decent stuff happening in the National Review entertainment section. And so this is all stuff to learn from, okay? This is all stuff to learn from. We don't have to take the neocon playbook and just insert our thing into it. Let's go back to New York in the late 70s, early 80s, and let's have Punk Magazine, okay? The one that Lou Reed was the first cover and I think interview for. and let's give this, you know, Curtis Yarvin's way over there, okay? We're gonna do our thing, and it's cooler because we're not trying to be cool, okay? We're just trying to find the stuff that works. We don't have to try to market to a specific network. Don't have to market to the Red Scare audience or whatever, okay? Let's just be us. Let's be the right wing, and that's how everything follows from there, okay? So, I just don't know exactly if people get, like, what the show is. I don't know if it's just, like, a big mess, if it's like me, like in school, having to cut out the characters for, like, art class. If I, "Hey, I got this is my idea. And it's got, like, jagged edges. Hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table. You like this? You like that?" It's, really taking some tips from Bowden. So and the other thing too, I wanna thank Thomas. He gave me a Paul Gottfried book, and I was reading it on the way here. Oh, that's the other thing. I got another anecdote to talk about. I was reading a Paul Gottfried book on the way back to California, and there's another template that's also gonna be useful, the way that he talks about how ideology emerges, the way that it can emerge organically by looking at the past, and you got a small network of people, and some people are framing it in a certain way. Like, for example, a lot of people who talk about fascism, it's from the Trotskyite lens, the Burnham, Sam Francis way of looking at things. So Sam Francis isn't a Trotskyite, but what is it? C. Wright Mills, these people who have a background in Marxism project that lens looking at these other ideologies. And that's exactly what happens with pop culture. That's what happens with people like Elvis. And you don't even hear about, in a way, Jerry Lee Lewis is kind of like a gate kept person because he wasn't really meshing well with everything else. But he would honestly be a more appropriate scapegoat because his legacy, I don't think, is really brought out in these really explicit terms the way Elvis is. Elvis is like Marilyn Monroe. You can't talk to anybody who doesn't have like a one sentence summary of who they are. And that's what on this show we're going to get into the details. When we get some structure on the show, it's going to make a lot more sense. But that's the thing. That's what we're doing here. And stuff like the Elvis stuff, I know it sounds like just a personal thing. The goth girl thing, there's something to that. We're in our Discord here. We were tracing some of the art house people, some of the certain characters maybe you remember from middle school. But again, it's a big mess. It's a big loose idea. What if we made a movie? What if we did this and that? And humana? We're tightening everything up, and we're gonna have something for you in the near future. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Um. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hey, thank you, Marsha Forward. Are you doing it again? Okay. My goodness. My goodness. Thomas 777. Thank you, my good friend. It was an honor to meet you. Responsible for getting the show off the ground. Responsible for turning it into what it is today. And can't thank the guy enough. This is a guy who, again, when we were putting this thing together late last year, we didn't know exactly what we had. We kind of just had, let's talk about Nixon, let's talk about Cold War, let's talk about this and that. And that's kind of what I do with the Elvis and the Goth Girls. It's okay, this is just me thinking out loud. This is the stuff I stare at the ceiling thinking about, put into a YouTube stream. But that's not exactly all that there is. We're trying to put some philosophy behind it. We're trying to give it some substance. And as Jonathan Bowden did with pulp fascism, we're going to be giving it some structure and creating a lineage. The way that Charlemagne does. Charlemagne does this in a very buttoned up, appropriate way. And I'm sort of playing catch up with that format. I am used to the cozy, off the cuff, Bafangul, just going right at it. So I want to emphasize I'm not a YouTuber, but I'm trying to mesh that streamer style, like somebody on the trip asked me about, what is the way, what is like the middle way between cozy and this dissident space? Well, it's looking at all of our resources and learning from the most effective people in the game. Okay, so hey, thank you, $20. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing a Portillo sandwich with me. That was an honor. And I also want to preface for the audience. This is right from the guy's mouth himself. Okay, so if you do not dip your Italian beef inside the water that the beef is sitting in, that would qualify you as a homosexual. That this is testimony from in-person testimony from Thomas. And somebody like me on the West Coast, I'm not privy to that dynamic. I would have probably made the same mistake myself. And so I just wanted to give you guys a fair warning, 1 foot out the door, and thank you guys for getting me up to speed. Didn't know I didn't know that there was a way to do it. That's the thing. That's the thing. Thank you, bummed. Yeah, see, I was out of the loop. Out of the loop. I got to run. Hey, bass guitarist on your way out. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Bringing a lot of good content. I appreciate it. The YouTube sidebar is recommending roast beef videos. I'm thinking we're back. Thank God. Catch the rest of the stream, the replay. Hey, replay gang's gonna have a field day, I'm sure. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Marsha Forward. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thomas 777 TV imminent, please. Yeah, the Dave. And that's the other thing too, Dave TV. That's another format that a lot of Zoomers are not privy to. So that's the thing, we say a lot of nasty stuff about the millennials, a lot of the people older than us, but it's about taking their thing to their logical conclusions, applying them here. So that's the thing. Hey, Green Glass, I'm doing very well. I'm a little all over the place here, but hopefully it's a nice little show here. The assault on Arkansas. Yeah. We enjoy being in the South. It feels like summer. What's that scene in what's that in The Irishman when Al Pacino is waiting over 15 minutes for the guy? People aren't freezing to death in New York. It's summer. In my mind, it's always freezing in New York. Or what's the oh man, I forget that actor's name. You come here dressed like that to a meeting? You come this is how you dress in Florida? To a meeting? Anywhere, here to Timbuktu, always dressed in a suit. What does that mean? What does that mean wearing shorts to a meeting? And that's true. I sort of had the opposite experience, and I did not wear shorts, and people consistently reminded me that was I am not in the game if I'm not wearing shorts. But hey, listen, man, listen, I'm a small guy. I'm a small, wholesome guy. And if I wear shorts, I'm kind of putting myself at risk. Okay. I don't have a lot of meat. So we're gonna have to just embrace jeans. We're gonna have to return to jeans because if I wear shorts, it's kind of out of pocket. So that's the thing. Okay. I know that it looks a little unusual when everybody else is dressed a certain way. We'll dress in a suit when we're at like an academic event, but listen, man, I'm not really a shorts guy. It's not really my bag. I love the shorts. Okay, I'm Dale Cooper. I gotta be this very boyish, mesmerized with the world around me, looking at the pine trees. This is the energy that I like to bring to the other states. Okay, that's the thing. You would expect that from somebody from California to just wear this surfer look, totally, exposing flesh. This is primitive. We're not in the Bronze Age. Let's be a little more considerate. All right. So Maybe that clears some things up, alright? Just do it for the show, but I still No, bass guitarist, you're the perfect target audience, Green Glassful, my goodness. My goodness, Green Glassful, hey, thank you, man, thank you. I make Chicago beef. I don't even know how to pronounce that. With, something, something, slow cooker. Alright, alright. You should get it. I do have a suit. Hey, subject to change, I do have a suit. You can see me wearing suits in multiple videos. Could also be a blazer. Yeah, yeah, I'm not too, against the blazers. Gotta head over one of these days. Hey, now Elon bust. You will not regret it. It's disrespectful to wear shorts and be late to that's what I'm told. That's what I've heard. Skinny two legs. Hey, King Sports Cal. It's nice to have some camaraderie with the chatters. I was telling somebody during the trip. I just love our chatters. I just love our wholesome spectators because that's the thing. You guys are more well self-aware. You're more self-aware than the content creators themselves because they're kind of in this bubble of how to make content and how to curate it. And you guys are just on the sidelines observing everything and you're seeing the strengths and weaknesses of everybody. So we really need like Glenn Hughes, we really need this kind of punk rock attitude where the band and the fans are on the same playing field. We can have some elitism. We're not saying everybody in the comments is a brainiac, but it is to say that that's why I like streaming. I like interaction. I want an interactive stream. I don't want this scripted lecture, okay? Anything to keep me away from the college format. And that's what I think this show brings. I think when we start making like consistent content, that's what again, this is all previews, okay? This is previews before the premiere, okay? The Drake and Josh premiere, the premiere. So that's what we're doing here. If you remember the Boomers Murdered music video, imagine stuff like that, but even more structured. Okay, that's what we're trying to get. So that's something that I think you guys are gonna like. Okay. Yo, we got Chief MFing Trumpster in chat. What's going on, big guy? Looking at you over there in chat. This is another guy. This is another guy. I talked about the John Derbyshire project where I'm working on. I'm feeling pretty good about something that I just messaged somebody today. And this thing that happened over the weekend, there's a lot of momentum. And I know that I'm biased because it was personal for me, but there's projects happening, okay? There's projects happening. And if people think it's just going to be me screaming into a laptop for the next year, this is not going to be the permanent structure of the show. We're sort of ramping up for something, okay? And if you see Charlemagne, he's been making some content. I was even telling Chief Trumpster, some of these guys, academic agent, these guys, they got their little niche, but I don't see this as the final phase. I don't see this as really the full show. That's why I'm asking about, a music intro. I'm asking about I bring up Jerry Lee Lewis, okay? We're gonna try and almost like this is like the AM stream for pop culture. That might be an even better analogy because his stuff is very extensive and it's getting into some history. So maybe that's the other resource that the show can be compared to because again, I think everybody just categorizes things the wrong way. They think if you want to be an art guy, you go over here. If you want to be a political guy, and we're gonna mesh those two worlds, okay? All right. All right. So that's what we're doing over here. Send a super chat by check. Now that would be something. Yeah, send me an IRL super chat if you ever catch me on the street. Getting me very wide. But yeah, Marshall for hey, that's I want you guys to know if it was a bunch of squares just goofing off and eating Italian beef as the main event for meeting together, then I would be alarmed. But listen, man, everything that you get right now, consider it like being spoiled because this isn't even our final form. This isn't even our final form. We're gonna create like a parallel structure. Got a little too excited there. And when you guys see it, I think you're gonna really it's gonna look like a news network. It's gonna look like the Stu Peters network. But not even that. It's not gonna be purely political. It's gonna it's gonna be something that but anyways, now I'm just buying time while I put my Tamagotchi up. That's the thing, all right? And again, I don't want to get too specific. It's but I'm just saying, okay, this show is not do not gauge progress based on where everybody is at right now. You know what I mean? Don't count everybody out just yet cuz we'll be back. Get a haircut and get a real job. Yeah, tell me all about. How about take this job and shove it, okay? How about if we get some David Allen Coe energy in here? And how about me and Ryan Turnipseed? We're never cutting our hair. And among others, among other. Anyways, listen, that's the thing. That's the takeaway, all right? Trust the yeah, exactly. Chief Trumpster gets it. Chief Trumpster is somebody who's very in tune with the cozy content. And when we start making moves like Frank Lopez, when we start making moves on our own, you want me to believe? You want me to believe Academic Agent was a stoolie because Joel Davis said so? You bought that line. Maybe I made a mistake bringing you down there. Yeah, maybe you and AA know something I don't know. You tell me like what? Let me tell you something about that greaseball. He's a snake. That's what they that's what he is. Oh, that's funny. That's too funny. How about if we just leave things the way they are and just move on? How about that? Sure, you're the boss. You're the boss, AA. I am the boss. That's right. You're the boss. That's funny. Now that is funny. Brian E, what's going on, big guy? Good to see you in here. Yeah, the robot animal. Yeah, that's gotta be careful. It's practically animal abuse. That's funny. That's pretty funny. Great stream last night. Oh, but that's the other thing I want to clear up. I was not participating in the Ryan Turnipseed American Roundtable. That was Paul Fahrenheit and Thomas. Those were the people bringing the knowledge. I was asleep on the couch. I was going sleep mode, okay? I was going nap mode, okay? Sleepy pie mode. Okay, hey. Is that Jack Burden and shit? Hey, is that Jack Burden and shit? You know what's gonna happen to Jack Burden? I hate to be cynical. I got an arc for Jack Burden. I was thinking about this. I want to make sure I get it right. Hold on a sec. I barely see because my hair is. Hold on, Jack. I got something. Hey, Jack. Hey, Jack. Gotta start going to nap mode. Dude, yesterday, you wouldn't believe it. Sleep max. Yeah, it's called we do a little sleep maxing. Hey, guess what, man? Hey, guess what? I think I know what's gonna happen to Mr. Burden. To Mr. Burden, all right. And he may not like this. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. But listen, man. Hey, listen. I gotta inform you about something. All right. Here's the thing, Jack Burden's he's making a lot of moves. He's making a lot of moves. He's kind of like Mr. Rasputin. He's just out there. Who knows what he's up to? Hooting and hollering. dragging the Sadies by their feet. By their feet. And I speculate that this guy, Rush Limbaugh kind of has like a wholesome arc getting into radio. He skipped prom. He was very dedicated to work. That's his arc. But Jack Burden, he's he's sort of the opposite. He's a little more Howard Stern and bit of a rebel rouser. Got some of that Jerry Lee Lewis energy. And when Jack Burden, he's going on AA. This guy's hitting the big leagues. And he's gonna forget about the little people. He's gonna forget. And then that's okay, I like to see people succeed, But here's the thing, here's the problem. All right. Jack's gonna have his own show, the Dick Cavett show. He's gonna have his little thing there. And he's gonna be doing his thing. He's gonna be dancing. He's gonna be bringing on comedians. He's gonna invite them by the desk. All the comedians that and all the actors that seem to make their way onto his show tend to be these like hourglass figure women, lots of makeup, real like 10-tier stuff. And anyways, that might just be a coincidence, but he's gonna be getting all this momentum establishing his show. He's on Spotify. Alex Kashuda is crying herself to sleep, looking at the numbers. She's looking at her stream and saying, that this is not doing numbers. Totally devastated. And the worst part is I hate to do this, but somebody from my show who's going to be very radical, someone who's going to be tuning into my show and is going to interpret it the wrong way, they're going to get onto Jack Burden's talk show. And they're going to be very upset. They're going to do a little Joker dance. And then as soon as the curtain opens wide open, he's going to walk out on that stage and he's going to sit down next to Jack Burden. And Jack Burden's busting his balls, just really reading him the riot act, telling him, I'm waiting for the punchline. What's the matter with you? You're acting like one of them incels or something. And the guy's cold sweat. The guy's just sitting there. Jack, I've been having a lot of bad thoughts. Jack. Oh yeah? What do you got to worry about? You Zoomers, what's the big deal? Well, Jack, it's just I've been watching your show. Oh, really? You're a big fan. No, Jack, that's just it. I got a lot of problems, Jack, and I needed a big platform to air this out. And then he's gonna reach very quickly into his sleeve. And the whole show just ends abruptly. Okay. You hear some commotion on the set. And next thing I know, Jack Burden is exiting the studio in a hot dog cart. And so such a Scorsese like arc for Mr. Burden. Now I'm not saying it's gonna happen exactly like that. But again, you see a lot of up and coming stars, would-be stars, and you just gotta have a healthy level of skepticism, because who knows what's gonna happen when Jack Burden gets the big salary, upgrades the studio, becomes the new voice of millennials, and are the Zoomers gonna get any positive coverage? Are we ever gonna be lifted out of poverty? Or what is it in not Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead? It's going to be there they are sitting in their ivory towers, and they leave the trash and scum for the rest of us. That's us. That's Generation Z. That's what we get. But hey, again, I'm speculating. It's not a given, but hey, Jack, I wish you luck. Frankly, I wish the man good luck because Because the guy is truly making it. He's making it. But you gotta be careful, okay? Have you ever seen the movie Talk Radio? Have you ever seen that movie? It is a tale as old as time. And we gotta be careful. A lot of us in the sphere, we cannot repeat the mistakes of 2017, people from that era, and we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to dance, Millie Rock, dance between those 2 serious and entertaining spaces. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But on a serious note, congratulations to Mr. Jack Bird, and what a guy, what a guy. Do we have his telegram? Do we have his telegram on hand? Now that we know how to find it, now that we got it. Do we have it? Show the guy some love. My goodness, my goodness. Where is it? Oh, also, you guys gotta check out Wendell's coverage of NatCon. This is easy pickings for content. But where's Mr. Jack Burden? Jack Burden. That's the party that the Joker's gonna crash. It's this big celebration. I know when you're being sarcastic. That wasn't sarcasm. I meant every word. Where is this guy's? My goodness. Okay. Okay, we're back. Oh, there's the link. He's got the link nice and cozy. But all right, we're gonna be scramming out of here. Unless you guys got any last words, any final requests, anything at all. Where is it? There we go. That's true. Ace, you okay? The big guy. Your baseness is showing. That's pretty funny. That's humorous. Time to that is so true. Phil Collins mode. Playing I Don't Care Anymore by Phil Collins on repeat. A lot of things could happen after doing that. My goodness, my goodness. Also, listen, not to speculate too much into this, but like Alex Kashuda is you know, passable, but I just don't understand this this goo eyes treatment, okay? We don't have to overdo the compliment. Just give the compliment which is sufficient. And let's leave it at that, okay? I just don't understand. Maybe it's from a specific person that's really leaning into it, but I just don't I'm not, maybe it's just not my type, but I love the show, was listening to it earlier today, but some people in chat, these animals, my goodness, her head. Okay, we don't have to, no. That is not a free ticket to insult. I don't mean it in that way, but it's just I think people they don't know how to give like a proper compliment. And so, well, let me just overshare. Let me just go full throttle. Oh no. Jack Burden releasing some revealing testimony. Yeah, congrats on the 500, man. Thanks for the 500. And thanks to you guys for the 1.3K on Twitter. You guys are the best, man. You guys are the best. But thank you, man. Thank you so much. Elon bust. I know you didn't mean it, but that's something. Used to play I Don't Care Anymore. Dude, that is such a mood. I'm gonna have to play that soon. That is such a mood song. Man. Remember when Phil Collins emerged on stage in Vice City Stories? Did anybody play that? I know it's a bit derivative of the, critically acclaimed Vice City, but Vice City Stories, you had Phil Collins. You had a mission where you had to protect Phil Collins as a bodyguard. That's the thing. Also, the Ace have to button up all okay, King Sports Cal, I was getting nagged for not having the top button, for having it buttoned. So, I was listening to my peers, and that was the advice I was given. So, I'm not look, I know it looks a certain way, but listen, that's just guys being dudes, okay? You're just gonna have to let that one go. All right. The rules changed, okay? When we got there, we're living by a different code. Yeah, Vice City Stories. Liberty City Stories is boring. Liberty City Stories is so boring. What's that guy's name? And Tony or something? You got all these Italians. Cringe. Don't want it. Yeah, what have Italians done for us lately? Okay, this Frank Sinatra baggage, all this nonsense. These people, man, these people. My goodness. But yes. Let me just take one last look at you guys. MK Ultra, that's pretty funny. Do the Zoomers hate the Beatles because they were boomer music or because they were mid? It's not hate, okay? It's not hate. Filter that word out of your immune system. It's not hate, it's just first of all, it is mid, okay? You compare their music to everything else. At the time, there was only a handful of rock bands, so of course, people are gonna say that they're at the top of the meritocracy. But, I mean, you compare the Beatles to anything that came after, it's like comparing Jimi Hendrix to all the guitarists after him, you know? Being the first one has a disadvantage. But, the thing about the Beatles is, yeah, they just got this boomer energy. They got this John Lennon philosophy attached to them. And, they made rock and roll British. They made rock and roll. American rock and roll was Southern, it was black, and, uh, and it was country. Now, all the credit doesn't have to go to one camp or the other necessarily, but it's, hey, Danielle, are you still here? It's a hodgepodge, and that's why music is Hegelian. You're supposed to combine all the different pieces. And there was this one person at our college meeting telling us, you know, you're trying to defend this music on conservative right wing grounds, and yet you're going to counter signal, the Italian race, the Italian labor of jazz and Frank Sinatra. Here's the thing, though. That music was never going to grow, it was never going to last, and you needed a little bit more into the mix, because if you don't, it's gonna wither away, and then what are you gonna be? You're gonna be proud of the fact that Frank Sinatra had his regime, and then just like Franco's, it's just gonna wither away immediately? It's not good enough. You don't get credit for having, like, the purest movement, and then it just goes away in the 20th century. That's not what we're here for. We're here for longevity. We're here for figures that have well, we're here for figures that have arcs that we can learn from. And Frank Sinatra's just would anybody go see a Frank Sinatra movie? Would anybody go and see him wearing the hat and the striped vaudeville outfit? Would anybody watch a biopic about Frank Sinatra? What are the highlights? Him being in the mob? I mean, this is just so boring, that Frank Sinatra doesn't animate people. People don't get out of bed with a Frank Sinatra picture over their head. You don't see it, okay? That's why Elvis is getting us in a better direction. So that's that, okay? Yeah, not John Lennon with an O, it's Vladimir Lenin. Yeah, think about that. No, the Beatles are not bussin', Elon Bus. Don't even know why you'd even say that. This is ridiculous. Yeah, MK Ultra, do survive the sociology class, okay? For get through it. You got this, Zoomer. Yeah, Elvis and Nixon. That's the alliance right there. There's the alliance. I would watch a Dean Martin movie, please. Please, please. In what timeline, on what planet would you watch the Dean Martin movie? Bafangul, not give me a break, my goodness. Yeah, see, that's the trick. They put a little bit of Rat Pack stuff in the Fallout soundtrack, and you guys eat it all up. You eat it all up with no context. With no context. Ridiculous. Yeah, I'm thinking we're canceling every Italian except for Tony Martin. Well, I guess not all Italians, but let's have a real meritocracy and find some of the best ones. Imma get you gone, brah. So true. That is so true. Oh, man. Alright. This is just the Italians fundamental, hey, something to think about. A dry cell take. Maybe that is. Alright, what do we got here? Is it time? Is it time? Alright. I think it's time to lickety split right now. But thank you guys. Hey, and everybody who was there, everybody who's lurking, lurkers in chat, are you lurking? Are you lurking, son? Consider yourselves true friends, not just online, not just in this abstract sense, but in the true Hegelian sense. All right. All right. We do not we do not survive isolated, cut away from our brethren. We have to stand together. Stand back, stand tall, and stand by. Okay? Because Patriot Night at the White House, it's among us. It is among us. All right? Sus, but can't wait. Can't wait to return. Can't wait to get the gang back together. Can't wait to see what everybody does in the near future. There's a lot. There's a lot happening. And if my word means anything, if you guys think this is a waste of time, this is a flash in the pan, I just want you guys to rest assured you will be white pilled in the near future. So I appreciate you guys for giving me the time of day. I appreciate everybody that I spoke with. Hey, you guys see what we're doing, and you're not seeing it as content. You're not seeing it as this buzz, dopamine rush looking at the timeline. You're seeing a grassroots network, which is what it takes to succeed in politics and culture. That's what Peter Thiel is, tying himself up with. This is what Yoram Hazony is doing in that you know what conference. These people are not us. They're not us. We need to be us. And by doing so, unapologetically, within reason, not going out there and doing crazy and ruining your life. We've had enough people do that already. But it's about giving people a space to do their thing. And then people are going to see us doing our thing and think, hey, what is that thing? And that's that. So, hey, this show is not just fun and games, kiddie games. This is a place where we're going to get some revisionism done. We're going to get some Bowden content set up. So that's that. All right. Let's get these M&Ms back up here. All right, guys. Hey, thank you. Thank you, one and all. One and all. Thank you for giving us company in the Telegram chat and everything in between. You guys, my goodness, my goodness. Hey, Elon Bus, David the Gnome, Age of Ren, There you go, man. See, all the best stuff on this show is unscripted, including this monologue. So thank you guys. Marshall Ford going to town in the Telegram. All you guys, all you winners, my killers, my killers. One last time for the people in the back. Say it loud for the people in the back. This is what coalition building looks like. So true, Queen. So true. So true. Hey, that's kind of true. But I appreciate it. King Sports Cow, Brian E, Chiefs Trumpster. And thank you, Green Glassful, Marsha Ford, and Thomas for the unnecessary funds for the show. I appreciate you guys, man. Keeping the lights on, funding the future fog machine, probably. All you guys, all you guys. What a cozy crowd we got here. What a cozy crowd. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, one and all. Appreciate you. And when are we going back? Probably this weekend. Gonna try to mingle with Wendell. So expect that. Go on Cozy and check out his channel. My goodness, this guy puts in the real labor into this stuff. Let me do that before I split. Look at he split. I think he's even live right this second if I'm actually he's not. Well, let's find him. Let's find him because again, he's one of those guys that another person I collabed with, and it was just like this is on another level. This isn't just trying to replicate Vanity Fair in show form. This is a guy hauling. All right. Did that link go through? Hey, thank you. Hey, just Jimmy's, man. Stay cool. Stay cool, will you please? Hey, can you stay cool for me? That would be a great favor. But thank you guys. Brian E, what before I leave, what movie is it? Type it in chat. What is the movie? And oh, I just remembered for the next stream I got to talk about something. But hey, until then, sit tight. Good things are afoot. And stay classy. So, I'll see you guys in the near future. Take it easy, man.